Yeah,
our musical interplay is
we're completely different in our approaches to the guitar, and I think that works for us because we kind of finish where each other leaves off, and
it's the thing that it has taken me forever to learn. I just started figuring out like 5 years ago is with guitar playing, especially, is like, your fingers don't have a brain. So every time I'm writing things and I'm just using my hands, I'm like, stop, write it in your head first, and then figure it out. I know I have enough tricks. I know where to go with things from there. But I always look at guitar, or I'm trying to continue to look at guitar mentally first. My fingers pretty much can do whatever I want. I mean, I'm not a shredder. I'm not a janitor. I can't sweep, but but any other thing I can go for. So now it's more of a mental game for me. And I mean, you do it too, but you're a piano player first, so you just look at it differently.
I look at everything differently because I started guitar when I was 16, mainly because we lost our first guitar player. He was in the band for like 6 months.
Never found him.
And we never found him again. And I at that point in my teenage years, I'm like, well, we're never going to find anybody else, so I might as well start learning. And then I fell in love with it. But I learned very different. I didn't really have any formal lessons, but before I played guitar, I was playing piano. So basically, I got the guitar, and I'm like, dun, 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 dun. Okay, that's E, dun, like just the long way. And then how I approach everything, because I approach everything brain first, because I don't have that initial... I don't know. I work differently. So all of my leads, I end up writing with my voice. And and then I just have a different technique for all the rhythms.
Yeah, I always looked at it as shapes. I was one of the shapes guitar, I still see, like a D is like a little triangle, and all the shapes of all the things still make sense to me. I don't know.
When we're in the studio, we both write our parts and we record them, but sometimes live we'll end up switching our parts.
Yeah, live
just depending on what we're going to be doing there. And
live is 4 people interpreting what we did in the studio.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
all.
much.
It doesn't have to be exactly the same. Otherwise you could just listen to the record.
That's true.
Why go to a live show if you can just listen to the record?
Yeah. Well, we've always had that approach. We don't use tracks. We don't use click tracks. And we use real instruments, and we're actually singing. It's like that's what it is. When you see us on stage, it's 4 people playing, and so that just falls into that.
Yeah, we have a fairly old school approach to rock and roll, and we don't have too much technology going on. It's kind of plug in and play, and we have some Kempers at home. I write with them; they're great, love them, and I understand. I have friends that use them and tour the world, and it makes a lot of sense. You don't have to rent. Mm-hmm. I'm not renting amps in Europe anymore. I finally bought those Marshalls, little 20-watt plexis. They're new ones, and they sound awesome. Mm-hmm. So I have those over here now. But like from here, we fly to Japan and Australia and Malaysia, and that's it's renting a new amp every show. So you never really know what you're going to get. And I understand fully that if we got a Kemper, you just have the same thing, and it totally makes sense. But I like amps.
It just doesn't feel the same, and it doesn't. That's what we got into this for. That's why we play rock, and that's what our idols did. Growing up, listening to them. So, to me, it's like it's just not a real rock show if you don't feel that breakup. And
they sound good. They're close enough. You can still do a real rock show. Just fine. There's nothing wrong with them. But I'm not going to use it.
Yeah.
Not live. We've used it for some like clean stuff before to get like a really clean tone and some of the cool delays and effects in it, But otherwise, this last record between Nick Raskulinec's, his amp and guitar collection, and our amp and guitar collection, I mean, we've got cool amps. It's fun to record them,
He's pretty old school too, because I mentioned, so I have a Randy Rhoads 100-watt Marshall that I don't take on tour because you can't even get it past 2 and it's just blowing the walls out. And our producer's like, well, why didn't you bring it? I'm like, because we're in a studio and it's loud and we have all these other amps that sound just as good. He's like, no, bring it. We'll put it out in the shed. So we put it out in this separate room and cranked it. And even with all of the soundproofing inside the studio, you could
shaking.
still hear it. It was amazing.
That's what I use at home in the States. I have a 71 and a 73 Super Lead, just an old one, original red Tolex and original purple. They're cool. I like to nerd out on that, but they sound awesome. And like, I crank them. I go up to I just crank, and we have to turn the cabinets backwards because it's louder than the PA. And we do. Gotta have it loud. It's
shake
fun.
it, but that's why we pull them back. I have even out with me now. I have a JCM 800 Marshall, and it's just amazing because you turn it back, and there's a running joke with our crew that you turn it back to the wall. And usually a lot of the stage hands and some of the venue people are back there, and they don't last 2 minutes. They're like, oh, it's too loud. You got to go back and around. So, yeah.
I have like
At home?
Yeah, I like small amps. I'm like a little amps. I don't know why they're like that's a Marshall too, but I have like
cute.
a little 1 watt
So cute.
offset that they made 300 of a few years ago. It sounds so good. It was actually like one of the secret sauces in the last record, and like choruses and stuff. It was just that little amp makes everything sound huge. And I've got like Analog Outfitters amp. Do you know it's a company in Normal. I think it's somewhere in Illinois. They repurpose old Hammond organ things and turn them into amps. And I've got the Sarge. It's like a little 15-watt head. It's in this like Geiger counter box. It's really cool. And they use the wood from the old Hammonds that don't work anymore and make cabinets. And they also have something called the scanner that is so cool. It's like the scanner vibrato from the organ and or the reverb tank, and you can plug a mic or anything into it, and it's in like a plexiglass case, and you see it spinning in there. It's like functional art. It's really neat.
We still have to use that for voice.
Yeah. I don't know. We have a bunch of amps. I have a Carol Ann that my friend gave me. And
we've used Bogner and Diesel and Mesa Boogie, and Friedman stuff. Yeah.
When we play in the States, we have like a warm up rig. And Lzzy and I have 2 of those new Jerry Cantrell Friedmans. Are they 18 watts?
Sounds so good.
Yeah, they're tiny with a 110 speaker. We just have them in our practice room to warm up, and they sound amazing. Like I'm taking them to the studio. They sound great. Yeah, I have a few on there. I got a lot at home. The
tuner.
Yeah, the tuner is the most important one. But really, the overdrive that I'm using now is it's the JHS Bonsai. You know that one? It's like it's like you got all the tube screamers in their own little thing at the end, and that's super versatile, especially once we get into amp rental territory. And you don't quite know what you're getting, and some amps have a little more overdrive than other amps, so you can go back to like an 808, TS-808, and kind of just give it just a little, boost there. Or if the amp is like kind of dead, you can go to the JHS mod on there, and then you can like really fill it out and have a massive sound. So right now that's the most useful for flying around.
My favorite, out here I have an Archer overdrive, a distortion pedal, but at home I have a Klon pedal, which I absolutely adore. It was given to me by a fan. Right. And I think his name is Steve. He wrote it down on the bottom of the pedal so I wouldn't forget him. But it's truly that's one of those things that I don't know if I would have ever really gotten it on my own. I might have at some point.
That was nice of him.
It's very nice. Oh, it's nothing like what you think.
We made an EP with Nick Resklance again, and that's there'll be more information of that coming out.
We can't really talk about
it. It's just getting mixed now, and it sounds awesome and something we've never really done before.
Yeah.
Everyone's expecting a cover EP, but
that's not what
we're
it
is. We wanted to shake it up a little, and technically it is a cover EP.
Kinda.
Yeah, you'll find out.
Yeah.
It's cool. We have
It's a little strange.
we have a 10th anniversary of our first album on Atlantic coming out December
That's another
20th, I
thing
think,
that's coming out,
and
yeah.
it's really cool. It's like the original album. We have a bunch of new artwork, a bunch of pictures from that time, and then there's a second record full of all these demos that we made in our basement when we were coming up, right after we got signed, and then some demos we made out in California when we were trying to get that first record made, and the point of that whole release is to kind of show the story, man, of what happens with our story. Every band has a different story of what happens, but like our version of coming up and getting that first record out that kind of started to launch us, and it was a journey of finding yourself and finding what works and what doesn't work and fighting for what you believe in. Lzzy Hale can sing anything. Her voice she's got the magic sauce in it. What did dude from TSO say? What was it? The guy that passed away. What was his name again? I can't think of it off the top of my head. Trans-Siberian.
Yeah. Wait, what did he say?
He said you have the whiskey dust.
The whiskey dust, yeah.
In your voice, the special stuff. And
he was fascinated by the fact that I can sing really clean, but then add the distortion in. But
you got the magic sauce.
It's an instrument. I don't know.
And she could sing anything, and like part of that story coming up is that your fight to play rock and roll.
Just because I can sing like Kelly Clarkson doesn't mean I should be Kelly Clarkson. and so some of these demos that we have on this new release are some things that we've loved that just got tucked in and just we were recording them in my parents' basement. And then there are some things that we hated and we fought against, but we left them on there anyway, so everyone can come to their own conclusions.
It was stuff that we really fought not to have on the record, but we wanted to show it because there's a reason we didn't want it on the record. December 20th, I think it comes out. Yeah.
December 20th.
It's cool. It'll be a fun thing to get out there and discuss it with fans. Like,
here you go.
Music.
Discuss.